Hi everyone. Forgive my voice first of all. I have a sore throat, but I wanted to come before you on today and make this video about this is kind of like a part two in one of my videos where I said that the Most High is calling his people out of the church. This is a part two to more information and proof that the powers that be knew exactly who they were coming for with the slave trade and everything. If you all have heard of Mansa Musa, Mansa Musa is even to date, he's like considered one of the richest men, well, the richest man in the world. And just to give you some history on him, he had so much wealth. He was a Moor. He was and okay, so just like the tribes are lost and everyone else is lost, or they just have fallen off the map. The Moors are basically like the Black elite that used to run the world, that were in power until the 14th, 15th century, when Rome started to conquer and take over. But Mansa Musa had so much wealth. He was worth, I think, 400 billion or close to $1 trillion. He had so much wealth that there are documentations saying that, and he liked to travel, but he traveled to Europe. I'm sorry. He traveled through Egypt with his entourage, and I mean, that was, thousands of people with him. But the Egyptian royalty wanted to meet him, but they said he spent a lot of money. He bought a lot of souvenirs, and he also went to the poor places and gave out gold to the poor. And he spent so much money, so much gold, that he literally collapsed Egypt's economy. It took them about 12 years to recover, because he had that vast amount of wealth and he spent that much, and he just basically passing through. But he tore their economy down, or crashed the economy. And so but the name Mansa means king. So he was a Moorish meaning he was a Muslim elite, but he was an Israelite. He was a Hebrew man. Musa means Moses. And what they don't say about him is that there's proof that he is like from the line of Moses. He's one of Moses's descendants. And so Musa literally means drawn from water. And so I'm gonna go here and show you all what Musa means. Musa is a male given name that is of Semitic origin. So it is a Hebrew name. And look here, Musa is a family name. It is a Hebrew name. Let me use my little annotation pen here. It is a Hebrew name. And then they give you alternate spellings here, but the name means Moses in Islam. All right. And so we can go here where it says Musa name meaning, and it says the name means saved from water. And we know that Moses was saved out of the water. Moses was drawn out of the water when Pharaoh's daughter, she drew him out of the water. She saved him from the water. So that's what the name means. And so, but it's so funny. It's so funny. Like, I have to like put emphasis on this down here. You know, okay, so this for Musa, they want to show you these people here. All right, I'm gonna just stop there for a second. So yeah, hold on, let me erase this. Just clear it all. So, okay. So now we're going to talk about, I want to talk to you all about how these people knew who they were targeting. All right. This is from the Moorish Israel.web. So it's Kingdom Ministries International, and it's talking about the Moorish Hebrew tribe of Ephraim. Okay, divine trust. So we're just gonna go down here, and it says here, because it's okay. So a lot of people may not realize this, but Israel was divided. So those 12 tribes were divided into a Northern and Southern Kingdom, because there was constantly a clash between the two. And so the Southern Kingdom was the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, and the Northern Kingdom were the other 10 tribes. But they were basically ran by Ephraim, which was, you know, Joseph had 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So Ephraim ran the other 10 tribes pretty much. Now, when everyone received their allotment, the Levites, the priests, the priesthood, they did not get an allotment of land, because the kingdom, you know, because their allotment, or they were supposed to be taken care of by whatever tribes that they were serving in the serving in the temples for, so they were taken care of that way. And so they did not get an allotment of land when all the land was divided between the Northern and Southern Kingdom or whatnot. But let's read a little bit about the Ephraimite Moors. All right. And I'll just go here. I'm going to read this first sentence. The majority of the Israelite tribes resided under the authority of the house of Joseph, which in turn was ruled by the tribe of Ephraim. All right, so this tells you, it goes into, when I talked to you all in one of my videos about the Assyrian captivity or this Assyrian invasion that basically caused all the lost tribes, because people were relocated and moved around or whatnot. So this talks about that and says how many of the house of Joseph fled into Arabia, Yemen, and Ethiopia. So now I'm going to go down further. Man, we know that, on the western coast, many fled into the Negro land, New Guinea part, and to Mali, and to all those countries that are on the western coast of Africa, right where the slave trade took place. But we do have to remember that there was a slave trade off the eastern and the western coast of Africa, because you had the Arabs running the Arab slave trade of Negroes on the eastern coast, migrating Negroes to India, China, Australia, and different places like that. And then you had the transatlantic that took place off the western coast, which brought slaves into the North and South Americas and into the Caribbean islands and Jamaica and stuff like that. So I'll put the link to this so you all can read it for yourself, but I just really want to show you this part where it talks about in 1311, Abu Bakr, or Abu Bakr II, the Emperor of Mali, set sail across the Atlantic with a 1,000-vessel fleet, and thus began the settlement of the house of Joseph in the Americas. All right. So this is documentation here saying that this king of Mali, which is Mansa Musa's brother, he set sail with 1,000 ships and came over to settle in America. All right. And so when they got here, he joined members of the Danite tribes, or the Danites, the tribe of Dan, the Danites, which were the Navajo and the Apaches, the Apache Indians. Okay. So then we're going to go down even further. I want you all to see here where it says the Ephraimite Moors were also known as the original Black Cherokee, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole Indians. All right. And so now we go down a little further, and it talks about how some settled here. Other Ephraimite Moors migrated from Mali and settled in Nigeria. These Moors that settled in Nigeria became leaders of the Igbo Israelite nation. All right. And remember, I told you all in one of my previous videos that the Igbo nations, the Igbo Israelites, are confirmed. They are confirmed to be true Jews. They are confirmed to have E1B1A DNA. They are confirmed that their genealogy traces back to Moses, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They know this. All right. But they know this history, but they try to, hide it or whatnot. So I'll make sure I put this link so that you all can read about this information for yourself. And I'm just going to go and play this short video of it's about a 3-minute video about the voyage here.
Mansa Musa, one of the richest men to have ever lived, the king of Mali who lined his path to Mecca with gold and put his kingdom on the map, literally. But have you heard about the one who made him king? Before Mansa Musa, there was Mansa Abu Bakr II. He was Mansa Musa's brother and king of the Mali Empire. So how did Musa become king? On his legendary journey from Mali to Mecca, Mansa Musa crossed paths with Damascene historian Shihab al-Umari and told him how. The monarch who preceded me would not believe that it was impossible to discover the limits of the neighbouring sea. He wished to know. He persisted in his plan. Mansa Abu Bakr II was an avid traveller and had roamed all around his vast empire before yearning to discover what lay beyond the Atlantic. So he called on engineers of the Lake Chad to build ships so he could launch a fleet across the ocean. He hired a crew of sailors, traders, builders, artists, warriors, and learned men, and supplied them with enough rations to last 2 years. He told them not to return until they reached the end of the ocean or until they had run out of food and water. But after a lone captain and only one of the ships from the 200 he had sent returned to Mali, claiming that the other ships had been pulled into a current and disappeared, Mansa Abu Bakr II began to prepare a fleet once more. But this time, the brave and adventurous king decided to make the journey himself in 1311, almost 200 years before Columbus set foot on American shores. Just as Mansa Musa's journey to Hajj was legendary, so was his brother's journey across the Atlantic. A great leader, Mansa Abu Bakr II travelled with his men on 1,000 ships and sent a further 1,000 ships with supplies, trade materials, crops and animals, and of course gold, which was abundant in his kingdom. So did Mansa Abu Bakr II arrive in the Americas? We may never know, but there are many signs that West African Muslims did. Some of the strongest evidence comes from the pen of Columbus himself, who wrote in his journal that Native Americans confirmed black-skinned people had come from the southeast in boats, trading in gold-tipped spears. Not only were these spearheads described as guanine by Native Americans, which was the Mandinkan word for gold, the language of the Mali Empire, but chemical analysis of those spearheads found that the gold most likely originated from West Africa. Columbus and his son also found that Native Americans had handkerchiefs like those used in West Africa, and clothes similar to the Muslim Moors of Spain. Whether or not Mansa Abu Bakr II himself made it to the lands beyond the Atlantic, we cannot deny that this courageous ruler of one of the richest and largest empires on earth gave up wealth and power in pursuit of knowledge and discovery. His determination to reach the Americas could very well mean that West Africa's relationship with the Americas did not begin with slavery, but with sailors, explorers, and kings.
Okay, so hold on. I wanted to show you all that because I wanted to show you all that because I wanted you to see that hold on, y'all. I'm trying to see what's going on my computer. I wanted you all to see that there is so much evidence that shows that, you know, they knew. So Mansa Musa became king. His brother, Abu Bakr, he came over with 1,000 ships. That's just like confirmed that we just read on the Moorish website. The website about the house of the Moorish Ephraimites. All right. So he sent 1,000 ships, and then that was just the fleet, and another 1,000 ships. So this is 2,000 ships. Another 1,000 ships with gold, with crops, with animals, and linens, and everything else. And then I find it very coincidental in the article that Columbus says with his own pen that he writes, oh, it's that the Native Americans that he encountered had apparel, like the way they dressed and everything was similar to the Moors of Spain, like the same Moors that had been ran out of Spain for not converting into to be Christians or Roman Catholics. All right, so I'm gonna read right here. This I'll also link it. This is about Pope Nicholas V and the Portuguese slave trade, because Spain and Portugal, they were the one that kind of jump started the Atlantic slave trade. And but this is orders that came from Pope Nicholas. I'm sorry, from Pope Nicholas V, right? So I'm gonna just start reading around here. Okay. I'm gonna start reading around here. 15th century Iberian legal traditions regulated Christians' treatment of Jews, Muslims, and other Christians, clearly delineating, for example, who was enslavable and who was not. So basically, there were, after the Hebrews were told to convert to Christianity or get out of Spain, there were many that, like I said, converted, but there were a good portion that left. they went to the west coast of Africa, where they left with wealth. A lot of them that had boats came over to the Americas, all right, already. And so because there were legal traditions, what they did was reclassify the Jews and the Muslims. They reclassified them. And then they started calling them Black Gentiles. And they started saying that they needed to be Christianized because they were influenced to barbarous behavior. All right. So this is what they used. They reclassified anyone who was not baptized, and they were called a pagan, a barbarous, an animal. And so that gave them the right, because they had to do that, because this gave them a pass to go around those laws that said, you know, certain ways that they had to treat Jews and treat Muslims. So now this is the order from the papal bull that the Pope on January the 8th, 1455, that Pope Nicholas sent out. Now this is written in Latin. So, you know, we can't read this document, but it has been interpreted in English. You can pull it up and read the English translation of it. But I'm just gonna go here to this particular sentence here that the Pope, some of the verbiage that the Pope put in there. He gave permission for them to come against anyone that had not been baptized, any Black Gentile, he so called them. And he gave permission to invade, to search out, to capture, vanquish, subdue all Saracens and pagans whatsoever, and to reduce their persons to a perpetual slavery. Perpetual slavery means never stop, ongoing. So he wanted to capture them, produce, put them in perpetual slavery, and to apply and appropriate himself and his successors to the kingdom. So this means that whoever does it, they can apply themselves and their successors behind them to these people's kingdoms. They were entitled to their kingdoms, to their dukedoms, their counties, their principalities, dominions, possessions, and goods, and to convert them to his or her use and profit. All right. So this is what, now who knew that the Pope had so much power? But this is what he put out, and this is what they did. And they did this for hundreds of years, and there is so much more evidence. But I just wanted to discuss this. I feel like I'm forgetting something or I'm leaving something out, but I feel like I, you know, talked about it enough. This is another site here where this person wrote about the Pope's start using the church to start slavery. And Pope Nicholas V charged Alfonso of Portugal with the Christian duty to enslave any non-Christian. I wanted to read this because I thought it was funny. It said, it talked about the missionaries coming into Africa. And this man here said, when missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible in their hand and said, let us pray. They had the Bible and we had the land, and they said, let us pray. We closed our eyes. When we opened them, We had the Bible and they had the land. This was Desmond Tutu, a quote from Desmond Tutu, but I thought that was just funny. So this is just more information about it. With the dumb diverses that was written in Latin, this document that we just read a part of. So it talked about how the African Americans were forced to become Christians, and when they were forced to lose their names, lose their language, and everything about them, but they were handed a slave Bible. The slave Bible had most of the Bible taken out, but it focused on like Joseph's the slave Bible focused on Joseph's slavery in Egypt. It didn't have the Exodus or any of that information. All that had been removed. But Joseph's being sold into slavery, and I guess the way he handled it, or the way he stayed positive through it all, they would give that to the slaves and tell them that they'll be rewarded in the end. But I just wanted to talk about this, that these people knew exactly, and it wasn't like we had nothing. We had an abundance of wealth that had been taken, and that order came from the Catholic Church to subdue it, take everything that they had and use it for yourselves. You and your successors, while they are in perpetual slavery. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I pray that you all have a blessed day.